Well, good morning. Welcome to the top of Flattop Mountain here in Rocky Mountain National Park. I just walked up from Bear Lake and thought I'd come up and do a little bit of tundra photography. The sun is about to rise in just a minute or two. I'm going to need to get moving. I see some nice purple clouds out this way, and I'm going to get to work and see if I can find some nice photographs up here. But really, the main reason I'm up here today is because I'm on my way to get lunch, and today I want to splurge. To do that, I figured I could justify it if I walk a long ways to get there. So today I'm walking over to Grand Lake from Bear Lake, and I thought I'd take you with me to share with you what it's like up here in the tundra and the entire journey along. It's actually pretty amazing up here. And so today we're on our way to Grand Lake. Come on, let's go get some photographs first. I think this shot will make a nice photograph. What do you think? This is Ptarmigan Point being lit by the morning sun. Let's take a picture and see how it looks. Now, I know that many of you are quite familiar with Notchtop Mountain here in Rocky Mountain National Park, but you've typically seen it from the other side. Let me show you a picture of the typical view. Well, this morning, we're looking at the backside of Notchtop Mountain, and it's gorgeous right now, lit by the sun. So I'm gonna take a few pictures here and see if we can't get something. Well, it looks like the sun is coming. Well, the trail has now reached 12,236 feet, so not super high, but still out in this beautiful open tundra. And if you look behind me, you can see a little bit of Shadow Mountain Lake. That's right next to Grand Lake where we're headed. So just a little bit tucked down there is Grand Lake. There are two different trails leading to Grand Lake. The North Inlet heads that way and winds around. It's about a mile shorter. And then this trail is called the Tonahutu Trail, and it winds around first to the north and then back around. And that's 17.8 miles from Bear Lake. And the reason I absolutely love this trail is just all of this time out in the open tundra. I don't know, there's something about it. I just feel free. All of my problems disappear, and I don't know. I feel like I'm walking in the sky almost. It's really a special experience that you have to try for yourself someday. And the trail is really easy to follow, but the most important thing is you do not want to be up here when there are thunderstorms because you'll be one of the highest objects and it can be very dangerous. If you avoid that, otherwise it's a great to visit pretty much any time. And actually, like right now, autumn is actually the best as we have a lot fewer thunderstorms coming through. And so what I suggest is, firstly, be in good shape, well acclimated, have someone drop you off at Bear Lake and meet you in Grand Lake to pick you up. In October of 2020, a wildfire started near Kremling, Colorado, about 25 miles west of here. And that fire was named the East Troublesome Fire. But for the first couple of weeks, it just simmered in place and really didn't do anything. And then one night, high winds picked up. And in a short period of time, that fire raced through miles of forest to eventually reach Grand Lake, Colorado, doing a great deal of devastation. It then raced into the national park and started burning up the forest, particularly along Tonahutu Creek. I live in Estes Park on the other side, over on the east. And while we all were devastated by what was happening to the west side of the park and to our friends in Grand Lake, we felt safe because we had this vast open expanse of tundra right here protecting us from that fire reaching us. It's like a natural fire break. And in Colorado history, as far as we know, there hasn't been a time when wildfire has jumped over the tundra. Well, on that night, those winds became extreme. And what we think is that somewhere down here in this forest below, the high winds picked up large pieces of wood and threw it up over the divide and down into the valley below where it started fire on the east side. And then that fire, due to the high winds, raced towards Estes Park. It actually reached all the way up towards the east entrance, right in Beaver Meadows. It was actually stopped. And only because we had a kind of a freak change in the weather, it went from very dry and windy to all of a sudden, just almost instantly, it went to very humid, cold, and began to snow. If it hadn't been for that incredible miracle, we probably would have lost much of Estes Park. So this is one of the only places in Colorado that we know of that a fire has jumped actually over the tundra and continued again on the other side. Let's hope it never happens again. Ooh, it's getting warm. I'm gonna have to stop and take off my gear. Oh, getting hot. As I get back down towards tree line, you can see the trees are beginning to appear. The temperature warms up as well. So. This is the start of Tonahutu Creek that we'll be following today. Oh, well, I'm now down back in the world of trees, and it's time for a break. This spot here is where the waters begin to flow out of Haynack Lakes, and so there's a nice little stream here from which to filter water. It's also, you're safe from thunderstorms here, so it's a good spot to stop and just take a break. Well, there's a nice little sign here that says, "The mountains don't care," and then goes into an explanation of all that you can encounter up above tree line. Many people hike this direction, and so they see this sign before they go up and get a little warning about what to expect. And the primary things are, you don't want to be up there in a thunderstorm. Be aware of fog. You can lose your way easily. And they can also face high winds, and snowstorms up there can also create whiteout conditions. But apart from that, it's absolutely delightful. a beautiful section of forest. Well, from about here all the way until we get to Grand Lake, which is still about 9 miles, I think, we're going to be walking through this burn area. The forest was really burned pretty severely in some places, but slowly there is vegetation coming back, and I did hear a bull elk bugling out here. Keep in mind when hiking through a burn area like this is firstly that it's very hot. And I've got all my sun gear on so I can protect myself from the harsh rays of the sun. Otherwise, every time I go to the dermatologist, they're cutting chunks out of me. And so I'm lathered up in sunscreen. And the other thing is I carry quite a bit of water with me so that I can drink a lot because it is so hot in here. It's probably best to hike in this area when it's overcast, and it's supposed to be overcast this morning, but I guess we'll just have to see if that actually happens. But we'll head on and I'll point out a couple things before we get to Grand Lake. This used to be one of my favorite places to photograph over here on the Tonahutu Trail. Very different these days. It's kind of painful to see, but it's growing back. Vegetation is here. In a couple of years, we'll start to get the beginnings of small trees. Slowly, 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 it will return. Mile after mile, it's a burned forest. It's really amazing how much devastation happened in just such a short time. At one moment this was a beautiful forest, and then overnight it wasn't. Now, wildfires are a big part of the natural way. The difficulty is that over the years they've become much more intense and a whole lot larger, and so their impacts are even greater. Wildfires are needed by the forest, but smaller and more contained wildfires. This East Troublesome wildfire actually was the second largest wildfire in Colorado history. The biggest wildfire in Colorado history was the Cameron Peak Fire, and that also was burning here in Rocky Mountain National Park and just north of the park all of the summer of 2020. So you might say 2020 was a rough year. It was a rough year for the whole world, but I feel like we got a double dose here in Rocky Mountain National Park. So we've now arrived at Big Meadows, and it's a very big meadow. It's quite moist, and you can often see moose grazing here in this meadow. We're going to walk all the way around it, around the western side, and then continue following the creek down to Grand Lake. Just about 4 or 5 miles left and we'll be there. Well, I'm now passing the Green Mountain Trail behind me here, and that's an option you can take if you want to make this hike a little bit shorter. Have someone pick you up at the Green Mountain Trail. But I'm going to continue on down this trail and make my way to Grand Lake to get some food. Getting hungry now. We're getting closer to Grand Lake, and we're coming through an area where the fire burned particularly hot. And the trees are all bowed over. I think you can see here. Well, there's the lake. Oh. Oh. Well, we made it. That was about an 18-mile trip from Bear Lake here to Grand Lake, and it was absolutely spectacular. I didn't want to leave the tundra this morning. It was so pretty and so calm up there as well. It was a little nippy, but just delightful. And with all the colors changing, I was in heaven. Now, if you want all the details on this hike, then check out my book, Hiking Rocky Mountain National Park, The Essential Guide. In it, I have all the waypoints, what you can expect during each section, mileage, time frame, everything you need to know is there. It's a great guide, and you can find it on my website, at my gallery, or any of the bookstores in or around Rocky Mountain National Park. Well, I'm going to have my sandwich now. This was worth an 18-mile walk, wasn't it? My Impossible Burger. It looks completely unhealthy, but I bet it's going to taste great. And if you want to see more videos like this one with walks across the park, subscribe to this channel. I put them out almost weekly. Thanks for watching, everyone. To help you prepare for your visit to Rocky Mountain National Park, visit my website, rockymountainnationalpark.com. For hiking guides, calendars, coffee table books, and more, visit rockytrailpress.com. And when you arrive, be sure and stop by my gallery in downtown Estes Park. It's called Images of RMNP.